Jamaica is confronting a demographic challenge that could reshape the country's economy, workforce, and social support systems for decades. Jamaicans are having significantly fewer children. The number of babies born annually has fallen between 60,000 and 70,000 during the 1960s and 1970s to approximately 40,000 in 2010. Births declined further to about 33,000 in 2020 and dropped below 30,000 in 2025, according to figures cited by Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. That represents a decline of more than 50% from the levels recorded several decades ago. The trend is no longer simply a matter for hospitals or fertility specialists. It is becoming a national economic and development concern. Fertility falls below replacement level. The total fertility rate estimates how many children the average woman would have during her productive years if current birth patterns continued. The United Nations Population Fund estimated Jamaica's fertility rate at approximately 1.3 children per woman in 2025. That is substantially below the replacement level of roughly 2.1 children per woman, the level generally required for one generation to replace itself without migration. Different official publications have previously placed the rate closer to 1.9, reflecting differences in reference years, projections, and methodology. However, every major estimate points in the same direction. Jamaica's fertility rate is below replacement level and continuing to decline. A fall in fertility rate does not mean Jamaica's population will disappear suddenly. Demographic change normally occurs over several decades, but when low fertility is combined with the migration of young and working age Jamaicans, population decline and aging can accelerate. The Planning Institute of Jamaica has estimated the country's population at approximately 2.7 million. It has identified declining fertility, increased immigration, and growing elderly population as interconnected national challenges. Why are Jamaicans having fewer children? There is no single explanation. Women are remaining in school longer, participating more widely in the workforce, and often delaying marriage and motherhood. Access to contraception and family planning services has also given people greater control over when or whether they become parents. These are important social advances. Declining fertility should therefore not automatically be presented as evidence of moral decline or a rejection of family life. Economic conditions, however, are also influencing family decisions. For many young Jamaicans, the cost of housing, food, transportation, education, and childcare makes raising a child increasingly difficult. Irregular employment and inadequate wages can delay decisions about marriage, home ownership, and parenthood. Parents must also consider the cost and availability of reliable childcare. Where affordable nurseries are unavailable, one parent, most frequently the mother, may have to reduce working hours or leave employment entirely. Migration contributes to the problem in two ways. Jamaica loses thousands of people in their prime working and childbearing years, while couples and extended families are sometimes separated across different countries. Immigration may offer better opportunities for individuals, but persistent losses of young adults weaken the country's demographic base. Changing attitudes also matter. Some Jamaicans are choosing smaller families, delaying children until they are financially established, or deciding not to become parents. Others may want children but face infertility, unstable relationships, or the absence of sufficient financial and social support. The economic consequences. The most immediate effects may appear in schools and childcare facilities. Fewer births eventually mean fewer children entering basic and primary schools. Some institutions may experience falling enrollment, forcing the government to reconsider staffing, school locations, and the use of educational facilities. Initially, smaller youth cohorts can create opportunities. Government may be able to spend more per child and improve the quality of education, healthcare, and social services. Over the longer term, however, fewer children become fewer workers. A smaller labor force could make it harder for businesses to recruit employees and for the economy to maintain production and growth. Jamaica could become increasingly dependent on technology, higher worker productivity, returning residents, or imported labor. The problem becomes more serious as the population ages. With fewer workers paying taxes and making contributions, a relatively smaller working population may have to support growing expenditure on pensions, healthcare, and assistance for senior citizens. Demand for nurses, caregivers, geriatric specialists, and long-term care facilities is also likely to rise. The challenge is intensified by migration. Jamaica invests in educating and training nurses, teachers, technicians, and other professionals, but many subsequently leave for better paying opportunities overseas. The country therefore risks having fewer young people overall, while simultaneously losing some of its most highly trained workers. Government developing a national response. The government has announced plans for a national fertility and family support strategy. A proposed multi-stakeholder task force would include representatives from health, labor, education, finance, academia, civil society, and the private sector. Its proposed areas of focus include financial assistance for families and responsible parenting, expanded maternity, paternity, and shared parental leave, more affordable childcare and early childhood support, improve reproductive, maternal, and postnatal health care, parenting education, and stronger community support systems. The strategy is expected to be developed within 12 months, with targets extended to 2030. The government is also considering workplace nurseries, expanded community health care support, and strengthened maternal and neonatal services. Dr. Tufton has stressed that Jamaicans are not being asked to produce children merely to improve national statistics. The stated objective is to create conditions in which people who want children can afford to form and maintain families. That distinction is crucial. Financial bonuses alone may not work. International experience shows that reversing a sustained fertility decline is difficult. One-time payments or short-lived baby bonuses may encourage some couples to have children slightly earlier, but they do not necessarily produce a lasting increase in family size. The barriers are usually structural. Young adults are more likely to consider parenthood when they can obtain secure employment, suitable housing, dependable health care, and affordable childcare. Parents also require workplaces that do not penalize them for pregnancy or caregiving responsibilities. Policies must support fathers as well as mothers. Paid paternity and shared parental leave can distribute caregiving responsibilities more fairly and reduce the career penalty frequently experienced by women. Infertility services may also be part of the response, but fertility treatment alone cannot address the wider economic reasons people delay or avoid having children. Protecting reproductive choice. Any government response must respect the right of Jamaicans to decide freely whether to have children, when to have them, and how many to have. The solution cannot involve pressuring women to give birth or limiting access to contraception, nor should people without children be blamed for a complex demographic trend created by economic, cultural, and social conditions. A rights-based response would remove the barriers preventing people from achieving the family size they already desire. That means supporting children and parents after birth, not simply encouraging more pregnancies. Greater investment may therefore be required in affordable housing, childcare, maternal health care, education, flexible employment, and family income security. A warning and an opportunity. Jamaica's declining birth rate presents serious risk, but it also gives the country time to prepare. The nation can redesign schools for smaller enrollments, retrain workers for a more automated economy, and expand services for older citizens. It can also make more effective use of the current working age population by improving education, productivity, and employment opportunities. Policies encouraging members of the diaspora to return, invest, or transfer specialized skills could partially offset the effects of migration. Retaining trained professionals will be equally important. The central question is not simply how Jamaica can produce more babies. It is whether the country can create an environment in which young people feel secure enough to build families. Workers are encouraged to remain, parents receive meaningful support, and older citizens can live with dignity. With annual births now below 30,000 and fertility well under replacement level, the demographic shift is already on the way. Jamaica's response will help determine the size, structure, and economic strength of the population inherited by the next generation. Subscribe today, turn on notifications, and never miss the stories that matter most. Jamaica News Now, your Highlands, your news, right now.